I'm pretty much done with Indiegogo, and I'm going to tell you why. It's taken a long time to get here. I mean, Indiegogo was the place to be for many years. It was where I did my first crowdfund. I've backed tons of books on Indiegogo, but it's gotten to the point now where I just can't justify it anymore. I got to move on from this website, and I know a lot of other people are doing the same. And it's a shame. There are still some good things going on in Indiegogo as far as crowdfunding platforms go. It's doing some pretty good things. It recently introduced some pretty cool add-on and variation to products, sort of things that they got going on over there that I thought, hey, that was, Kickstarter doesn't do that. That's pretty cool. The account feature, I think, is great. You can see, look, I've backed 162 contributions on Indiegogo over the past 5 or so years, and that's great because you can actually track. You can see not only the campaigns you've run, but also you can see the campaigns you've contributed to over the years. You can go in and see all the details and check what what reward you got, all that sort of stuff. That's actually really done pretty well on Indiegogo. But well, look, here's what's really gotten big in the Twitter news recently. The guys from Carmen America, Tim Lim, Neon from Clownfish, and the Umbrella. A lot of us already knew a lot of this because people say things in back rooms and stuff. They say it quietly. No one wants to really rock the boat, and I get that. A lot of people have a lot of money tied up in Indiegogo. A lot of the campaigns run on Indiegogo. I've known for a long time that Umbrella guy had a hell of a time getting his cash out of Indiegogo. Months and months and months. And you see some of these accounts are like 6-figure accounts. This is serious business, big time money. And Indiegogo makes you jump through hoops, and they're not good with communication, all this sort of stuff. This stuff has been going on for years. You read this article over here on Fandom Pulse. You got Cecil talking about it. Like I said earlier, Neon from Clownfish. You've got Aaron Sparrow here talking about why he decided not to go with Indiegogo. It's like a cascade of issues with this company that really started kicking off, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago with the site. I always had a problem with their pretty useless explore browsing section that was so buggy. It had tons of old dead campaigns in there. I think they've cleaned it up. They've made it a little better, but it's still, I don't know, Indiegogo, when I first started it, I thought this is the fresh company. Look, it looks so modern, it looks so new. And now I look at it, it feels kind of clunky and dated. I mean, that was just 5 years ago, and it just isn't what it used to be in terms of usability and user interface. And they keep making changes to it, and I think they all seem to be for the worse in my money anyway. And that's that's just a small part of it. Like I said, they've been banning books. They've been banning books, for certain things that go against their terms of service. Maybe it doesn't tie in with the woke liberal minded philosophy. That's happened to a lot of creators over the year. Chuck Dixon, JDA, Mike Miller, a ton of people. I know that was Indiegogo for Mike Miller, but anyway, they've banned creators, just like outright said you can't be on this channel. And there's big debate over whether that was terms of service or community guideline infringements or whatever. But either way, this stuff adds up over time. And add that to this thing now with payouts. And again, I don't know how widespread it is, but I know that it happens, and it doesn't put you in a good mindset going into it, thinking about this company. Back in the day when I was much more involved in it, I had my own in-demand store in it. I was much more paying attention to the things like what's written in their terms of service, what's written in their community guidelines. I just found this earlier. I mean, they've actually got a thing here. It says Indiegogo reserves the right to withhold funds. They give their whole corporate spiel about about what they have to do to cover themselves, liability, blah blah blah. I'm not saying they're doing this for everyone or even most people, but the fact that it is happening, and even if it's just a 3-month delay or a 6-month delay, I think is the worst I've heard. That's still a delay, especially when these things can be time sensitive. You got backers waiting, you got to pay artists, you got to pay production. It's a real pain in the neck, and the fact that it even happens at all, I think, is enough to raise eyebrows. And they've got it written here, like, no, we don't. Like, I mean, it's just, we reserve the right to withhold your funds. Okay. They've got also, it's kind of like they've got other what I consider nonsensical kind of terms and conditions. I mean, nonsensical with related to comics at the very least. Like, you can't cross promote. You can't just say you had a hit book. You can't update in that book where you got tons of backers and let the people who back that book know that the sequel to that book is coming out. That goes against their guidelines, and you can be shadow banned for that. You can be restricted from that. They could, maybe that they'll see a reason why they want to hold back your funds. I don't know. And it's just like inconsistently, that they're inconsistent with how they police these guidelines. So, like it says here, repeat campaign owners. If you have run previous campaigns and you haven't fulfilled perks and stuff, now we know that happens all the time in Indiegogo. So it's like, well, is that a thing? I mean, you seem to adhere to your guidelines in one thing and then not in the other. It's all, I don't know, to me, it all feels very slapdash, very haphazard. And I spoke earlier about the shadow banning and stuff. And what that means is essentially your campaign doesn't appear in this explore section. And sometimes in bad cases, not even in search. You can search for it in the search thing and it won't come up. And I remember finding that in the guidelines at one point. I couldn't find it this time, but in the terms of service, like, just because you put up a book on Indiegogo doesn't mean it's actually going to show up. Well, I mean, why are you forced to pay full fee for that service when other people get, this sort of level of promotion? Again, like I said, it's inconsistent, it's nonsensical. For me, a big issue came about. It happened, I don't know, a year and a half ago. The Indiegogo, it's actually one of the better things that they, I think, pioneered, was the sort of mailing list sign up page, which these were great. These really help build up the mailing list to the campaigns. You have a good launch and everything. About a year and a half ago, they did an update for the look and feel, and they ended up putting my home address right here. And it was up for about, I think, 24 hours, my home address. And it's funny because on the terms of service, they're like, it's against our terms of service to dox personal information. I was like, oh, thanks, Indiegogo. I sent them a thing. I said, take it down now. Nothing happened. I ended up having to pull down the campaign. And, I sent them an angry email and I said, you doxed my home address. And then they just sent me an email back saying, this matter has been resolved. Oh, great. Even though you had my home address up there for, however long it was up there. It's like, so all these things kind of add up. And, on top of now, especially with like, I think I'm not gonna say I will, if it's the only option, I will back someone Indiegogo. If that's, because, and I don't hold it against them. That's where their audience is. That's what they know. That's where they use. All right. And I really want this book. All right. I'll back it on Indiegogo. But if I have the choice, I'll back it somewhere else. Essentially, that's where I'm at in terms of backing. But I'm not going to put another campaign up on this site. Your only other option, I suppose, you've got a few options. For most people, it's going to be Kickstarter. Kickstarter has its own issues. It's a bigger site, but that means more competition. And unless you're heavy metal or bone, let's see a lot of the creators here resorting to cheesecake and that sort of stuff to get anyone to look at their campaigns. And we see that's like been a big trend in the last couple of years. And if you're not into that, then, well, good luck. I actually made my own website through Shopify, and that has done fantastic. Ended up raising a ton of money and selling a ton of books over here on my own site. I think it's up to 76,000 from 961 backers. Huge. Not many others have a platform that will allow them to do that. I know Shane Davis has it with 9 Lives. He's had huge success doing joint Indiegogo and his own website. Eric Weathers is another guy who went with Shopify for Battlebrick Road. He did really good numbers. And then Rini from Fiendish, she actually integrated her own website with a newer site which is called Fund My Comic, and this is really the only other option if you don't have the money, you don't have the know-how, and you don't want to do the effort, essentially, because it's a lot of work to build your own site and maintain it, is to go with Fund My Comic, which is run by a great guy called Luke Stone and a bunch of others. And they, they're like a free and open platform. There won't be any shenanigans with, with shadow banning or blocking, unless it's illegal, obviously, but, within reason. So lots of people who've been banned on Kickstarter or Indiegogo or have had their campaigns taken down, they go to Fund My Comic, and that's the only option for them, essentially. And Fund My Comic will allow them to be on there. Now, it's not a perfect site. There's still some teething issues. It's been around for, I think, a couple of years now. It's obviously it's a newer site, so it's still growing. I think they're working in add-ons. They don't have add-ons yet, which is been a bit of a issue throughout the time, but they do have a shopping cart, which is pretty cool. They can use coupons and stuff, so it is pretty sophisticated for something that they were able to get off the ground fairly quickly. So that is the other option, fundmycomic.com, if you're out there and you do want to use a crowdfunding platform that isn't Indiegogo. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Obviously, take it or leave it, but I think, yeah, I'm pretty much done with Indiegogo.